Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
We got a Game 7 tonight. Yes, we do. I could not be more excited. I don't think I've ever been so excited for a Game 7 that one of my teams is not playing in. But I am tonight. So we are going to get all up in the Panthers choking on their Stanley Cup. Has a very Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl 28-3 feeling to it to me right now, which, of course, if you're a Tampa Bay fan, you love every minute of it. Welcome into the JP Peterson Show on this summer Monday, where we do have some football to talk about. We do have lots of hockey to talk about. We got baseball to talk about. I'm all wrapped up in all these other crazy sports that are going on. I'm watching the WNBA, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. I'm watching the hell out of the Olympic trials, swimming and track and field going on right now. There's soccer all over the freaking place. And good morning to you, Nick Geddes on On3 Sports. How are you? That's a full weekend right there. That's a full weekend.
It's been fantastic. And, of course, I know it's starting to get to that part of the season where it rains like every afternoon. But
Right.
If you catch it before, there's so much to do outside as well, which I've been doing the last few weekends, enjoying myself. So I haven't really been able to watch a lot of these sports live necessarily.
Right.
But,
right.
I mean, look at yesterday, though. Yesterday was a sneaky, and I mean sneaky, really good sports day for the middle of June. You mentioned some of it, like soccer's all over the place. The United States are playing. In my world, NASCAR's going on. Like the Rays are going on. The Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese.
Yes.
I mean, the College World Series gets forced to a Game 3. And then tonight we have the Stanley Cup Final Game 7. And forget just, like you said, one of the most hyped Game 7s that you're going to watch that doesn't involve your team. I think this is probably the most excited I am to watch a hockey game that doesn't involve the Lightning, just period of all time. Like that's how excited I am. And I have a major rooting interest as well. I am putting on the hat of an Edmonton Oiler tonight.
I think if any Lightning fans were conflicted, and I know a lot of you were, we talked about this ever since the Lightning had been out. And doesn't it seem like eons ago that the Lightning were done? Like eons ago? Ever since the Lightning went out, we're like, are we going to really root for the Panthers? And, and some of my colleagues at the Lightning were like, yeah, it's Florida. I'm like, okay, all right. But then I'm like, now it's okay. You had a 3-0 lead. You're historically choking on it. Of course, we want you to come to Amalie Arena next year, all your fans, and we can have signs and everything else. Choke on this, choke on that. I mean, it's gonna be.
I just got taken back, JP. I have this new little setup in my office here where I got some monitors and I got a little TV here, so I could like keep track of everything while we're doing the show and while I'm working. And I have ESPN on here on my little TV, and they are led first take with Oilers and Panthers.
I know. Because Greeny's not there today, so.
Well, no, first take. I mean, actually, first take with Stephen A. and Shannon
Get Up did
on.
this morning as well. They talked about ESPN, talking about hockey.
This is crazy.
Yeah,
I don't do this stuff. I'm taken back right now, but that must be they're taking it serious.
It must be on their air tonight. Yeah, nothing else to pub, so they got to do hockey in a Game 7. They've been forced to do it, right? So. Yes, they have. I could not be more excited about that. So we're going to get to that. We're going to get to, by the way, Eric Erlinson's going to join us at 10:30. So we'll preview this big Game 7 tonight with him and also get you a Stammer update. I'm seeing stuff on X and other places that, of course, the Stammer deal, it's been no news is good news. But yes, of course, they want to wait till after the Stanley Cup is done before they announce anything. So if you're like getting all, your panties in a wad because nothing's happened, nobody's saying anything, relax. We're fine. So there may be a multiple moves coming for the Lightning, and we'll talk to Eric about that as well. Jackson Super is going to join us, the phenom golfer from Plant High School and Palmacia Country Club, my club. He yesterday, after the U.S. Open from last week, where he plays with Matsuyama and Jordan Spieth in the featured group and makes the cut, but more than DJ, Tiger, all those guys that couldn't make the cut. So that was an amazing accomplishment for him. Well, yesterday in the Korn Ferry Tour event, he shoots a freaking 29 on the back nine. 7 birdies out of 9 holes, 29. And did not win the tournament, but came in second. So he is on a freaking roll. We'll talk to him at 11:15. And Pat Burnham from the Osceola will join us as well. FSU had a huge recruiting weekend, the biggest of the Mike Norvell era, with all the official visits, lots of verbal commitments going on for FSU. So we'll catch up with them and Pat Burnham at 11:30. That's the show. That's a whole show there. And we got all these other things to talk about. You guys line them up in the comments if you have some comments about stuff you guys want to talk about from this weekend, and we'll get that rolling as well. So let's jump right into the Rays. We'll stay hyper local as we always do, because big series win for them, another one. So that's a 5-4 road trip, 2 series wins over the Twins and the Pirates. Yesterday they beat Paul Skeens, perhaps the best young pitcher in baseball. So good things are happening. They only scored 3 runs, but that's enough. And the pitching is kind of coming back. Savali was good yesterday. The bullpen was really, really good. Yandy leads off with a homer off of Skeens to kind of, set the tone, get you the lead, and do squat after that against Skeens, really, but didn't matter because they came back and won the game 3-1 and won the series. So we have life from the Rays. Still 38-40. I still believe in last place or close.
Well, no, the Blue Jays have lost 6 in a row, so the Rays have now. I think the Rays actually are 3 games ahead of Toronto now, because Toronto is just a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
And I think 5-4 in general on this road trip. 5-4. I'm trying to. All these series, I'm losing track of them. I can't remember who we played before Minnesota, but I know it was another road trip. So they went 5-4 combined there. So that's good to see. Yeah, to me, they're kind of like that, like cockroach that just will not die right now.
Yeah,
like we put them out to the pasture a few times, and have been like, it's over. There's no optimism, and in some respects, maybe I feel that way still. But then, like, I can't ignore going 5-4 on a road trip. I can't ignore beating 2 out of 3 against Minnesota. And I know Pittsburgh is not a great baseball team. They're right around average, just like the Rays are, but especially knowing that you were going up against Jared Jones and Paul Skeens in this series, 2 of the best young pitchers in the league, and to walk out 2 out of 3, I think you take that all day. And listen, just because we think the Rays should trade off assets and things like that doesn't mean the Rays are just going to openly go into the tank. They're still playing hard, and you're seeing some encouraging signs from some certain guys. Yandy Diaz being the biggest one, 16-game hitting streak for Yandy Diaz. I think that's like the second longest currently going around the league. And over that time, he's hitting like 366. The average is now, gotten into the 270s. So Yandy's back on track. And Josh Lowe as well is starting to hit the baseball well. He's been having the injury issues and stuff, but he seems to be coming to life. And Jose Siri, back up to the Minnesota series. I mean, I know you probably talked about it on Friday's show, but the throw he made
that was
from
sick.
Center field to third base.
Sick.
I mean, he's literally been responsible for like 5 or 6 victories over the last like 3 weeks, like single-handedly. Yeah. Jose Siri. So he's back.
That's because I tried to kick him off the team and get rid of him.
Hey, it just shows you put a little pressure on somebody. Right. You have a player, but you know him. Remember, it seems so long ago he got benched for Johnny DeLuca. Remember that? And now all of a sudden I'm just like, Johnny DeLuca, and now all of a sudden I'm like, I don't want to see Johnny DeLuca at all. I want to see Jose Siri play every day. And so he's been a big energizer. So this was such a good little run for the Rays that I'm going to ignore Brandon Lau having a broken toe, which is just so unlucky and so unfortunate, but sums up.
So on brand.
It's so on brand. Like, it's not his fault. It's just like the injuries find him. They find him, but it looks like at least this one's not going to keep him on the shelf for long. So, but good week. Yeah,
that's just insane. And by the way, prayers for Ahmed Rosario. I was watching that live, and on Saturday he gets hit, and I thought he took it straight to the face, but I think it hit his hand, and then up into his face, which is bad enough. But 100 mile an hour, from Jared Jones, who just literally had no idea where the ball was going. Yeah, I mean, I how do you get into the box with some kid that's throwing 100 miles an hour and he literally has no idea where it's going? Like none. That's nerve wracking. That is every time we make fun of baseball players for not being the most resilient. We do forget that they stand into the box every second. These guys throwing 102, 103 miles an hour. And sometimes they don't really have great control. So takes a hell of a lot of courage to jump. I don't know how people jump back in the box after they get hit like that, but that was a scary situation. Looks like he's going to be okay. I will say this, though. My good friend Jack Hannon sent me this yesterday as he's looking at the lineup, the Rays hitting lineup yesterday, and their averages. Yandy at 269, Josh Lowe 234, Randy in the 3-hole at 190, then Paredes at 281, and then we get Palacios 235, Siri 208, DeLuca 159, Taylor Walls 097, and Jackson 083.
Ooh, that's 789. Recap those again.
Yes. Yeah, that is shut up, Siri. So from series goes 208, 159, 097, and 083.
Wow.
That's historically bad. And for a game in the middle of a season, in the middle of a major league season, not like cold start, April lineup. This is in the middle of the season. 083. You have two starters that are batting below 100. And you have four starters that are batting, five starters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 starters batting 208 or below.
And they won the baseball game.
And they won.
Baseball's a funny game.
208 or below, 5 starters.
Well, I actually think, JP, if you look around the entire league, you'll come to find there's a lot of this going around. I think I told you a couple weeks ago. Their batting average
the league average right now.
It's historically down.
241.
It's bad.
241.
Yeah, it's really bad right now. Like the Astros, I think, have the best, and it's like 261 or something like that.
241 is average. That seems really bad. But
yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Rays are not the only one, but yeah, that 7-8-9 combo. Like, you know what that reminds me of? Like, remember when Joe Madden was the manager, and I knew this all the time. If you ever went to a Rays game on a Sunday at the Trop at the 1:40 start time, and I went to many of these because that's when they used to have the family fun day, if you remember those.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And Joe Madden would always just throw out a punt lineup. It felt like every Sunday during an afternoon. You show up, Longo's not in the lineup. You show up, CC's not in the lineup. And you would get these lineups where it would be like 185, 170, 200, like sprinkled. That's what that kind of reminds me of yesterday. Or DeLuca, Jackson, and Walls, 7, 8, 9.
Oof. Wow. But hey, here they stand, 38 and 40. I still don't believe they're going anywhere, but we'll see where this.
You see what I mean, though? They just won't. They do keep doing enough to like they're not out of it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not out of it. That's what I'm saying. They are like that cockroach that you just cannot kill off.
Yeah. This is as Thomas Casper. This is I think they put this on the billboard for marketing for the Rays. Thomas says, "Pitching is our strength, and the relievers are our strength. We want to make sure we keep it that way." Woo! That's exciting.
It's funny. I'm actually, it's crazy. You said the pitching is coming around, and like Savali's coming around, and Taj is, starting to settle in. But the other three guys, I actually have major concern for right now. Truthfully, Zach Eflin has just been just meh, just very meh for a guy who's making the most money on this baseball team and was so good last year. He's just been meh. I'm just calling that out. I told you I feel like Ryan Pepio has hit a wall this year, and that happened again. He went a 3 1/3 in that start on Friday night.
Yeah.
And then Zach Littell, just can't find the strike zone right now. And I even was listening to the radio, and Doug Wechter said the same thing. It looks like Zach Littell has hit a wall.
Yeah.
So I actually don't have a lot of hope for the starting pitching right now.
Well, I just don't have any hope for this team at all. I just has no juice. They've won games though. The last couple of series, they've won games. They win a lot of close games. They don't beat up anybody, but it's not the most exciting stuff in the world, but they're winning some games.
I think it's been a tad more exciting lately. I think it has.
Well, because they're winning. and most of the games are close. We'll hand them that as well. They do keep them kind of close.
Oh, I thought they were going to kill me on Thursday's game when they had the what was it, the 6-2 lead going into the lead.
Yeah, to blow the lead. Yeah, they can find a way to come back and win.
Chris Davinsky.
Oh,
for the life of me, I just can't give you any argument for why he's still on this team.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Like there's got to be somebody better. And then they bring him out instead of Fairbanks because Fairbanks had the thumb, and then Fairbanks gives up the bomb. It's the Siri throw. That was the Siri throw game, wasn't it? Yeah,
that was the game that he bailed him out. But that's my point though. It's like even when they've won some of these games, you still are just like, the hell are we doing here?
But 5 players hitting under 208 in the middle of a season. That's got to be some type of record.
We got to go back and look at those 20. Remember the 2022 lineups when they had a lot of injuries and there was like Yu Chang was in there and
bad.
I mean, it was bad then too. So, but obviously this has been just nonstop all season. It feels like they've had these makeshift lineups.
Well, let's listen into Kevin Cash, get his thoughts on, and you beat Paul Skeens. That's it's a big deal. That's a nice.
He scored 1 run in 7 innings. I mean, beat is a
yeah. They won the game that he started.
They won the game. They got him out of the game, and they took care of business.
Yeah.
At the very beginning of the game, Yandy Diaz jumped on Paul Skeens there, but the rest of the way he was very solid. You guys put together a great top of the 8th. How would you sum this one up?
I mean, we grinded through a lot of good at bats. I even thought we had good at bats off Skeens. He just made big pitches right when we got guys on base and with 2 outs. But Yandy set the tone. I mean, the home run, and then they answered back with their big home run. But quite the pitcher's duel. Our pitchers did a tremendous job, highlighted by Savali. Happy for him. The bullpen came in, did their thing, just bought us some time, and then we had that big two-run 8th.
I was going to say Savali 5 clean innings. He was sharp, just 61 pitches. What'd you see from him?
Just that. I mean, really sharp, and felt like, look, we were able to do what we did today because of Eflin's performance yesterday, and it allowed the bullpen to kind of freshen up a little bit and maybe get aggressive right there. But felt like that was right time. Siv has done his job, and we know it's been a little bit of a grind, but for him to go through that pretty clean was really, really encouraging.
Overall, back-to-back series, you feel like you've strung together some pretty good performances here. You guys taking back-to-back series?
Yeah, I mean, this was a big win. I mean, we feel much better about this road trip winning today than maybe another outcome. But happy with the way the guys have played. Look, leaving Tampa, was it Chicago? Then we got beat up a little bit in Atlanta, bounced back against Minnesota and Pittsburgh. So pleased with the performance.
Kind of with the whole 8th inning there, the delay and JA having to get the 3rd out again, just the way you guys handled that.
Yeah, I mean, tough to practice that scenario, that situation, that waiting around. But I mean, he got plenty of pitches to warm up. Guys were ready to go out there, and I mean, who was it? Cruz smoked the ball right to Palacios. So I'm glad that nothing came of that. I mean, Richie does a really good job turning double plays. That was a pretty heads-up play by their group and their replay group.
What stood out about Savali that made him so efficient, especially today?
I mean, look, the curveball was really good. I know that Reynolds got the curveball for the home run, but other than that, there wasn't a ton of contact with it. So he got his swing and miss. I thought he did a good job of controlling the count for the most part, of getting ahead. And when he had to navigate with base runners, he did good. But pretty crisp outing for him. Really, really efficient. Got was it 1 or 2 double play balls in there that really helped keep the pitch count low.
Understandably so, you've heard a lot about Skeens for the leading up to this. We've asked about it a couple days now.
Yeah.
How important was it for Yandy just to kind of immediately throw a punch right away, basically?
Yeah, I mean, it was nice, but that guy's pretty legit. I mean, Yandy's home run, I'm happy for him, but he's really talented. That's the best I can say. He's as good as anybody. I mean, the last 2 guys that they've had, they're as good as the 1-2 combination we've maybe seen this year.
Finishing off with 101.5 or 101.5, I think, to Jackson.
I read 102, so it must have been, it's special.
And that 8th inning rally there just looked like kind of pieced together.
Yeah, I mean, look, J-Lo and Yandy had big days for us, huge days. Cabby kind of running on the right pitch right there. Proud of Cabby that he didn't force anything. He kind of picked the pitch to go on. And then Randy come up, driving the ball to center for the sac fly. And then Richie hanging in there and the line drive to the left for the single.
So a good finish to this road trip, and now they got the Mariners coming in, and the White Sox, Mariners, and no, the Mariners are next. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think you're muted there, partner. You're muted.
Sorry, Riley was going like ballistic, so I had muted myself there.
Oh,
yeah, Mariners coming in, and then the Nationals right after
11. Did it say 11:30 game on? I guess that's
11:30 game this against Seattle.
Yeah, on Wednesday. I was looking at the schedule there. They put it up there in the cash interview. But it should be packed at the
Well,
drop.
it's a 12:10, 12:10 start time on Wednesday.
Okay. All right. So Rays back home. The Nats come in. Yeah. So it's the Mariners and the Nats this week. Hopefully there'll be a lot of little league kids there to fill up the Trop for the summer. All right. So we got. Let's go a little game 7 here. So you're the Panthers. You're up 3-0, and then you lose the next 3, 8-1, 5-3, and 5-1. So if you're Bobrovsky, you've given up 18 goals. And a few of those were empty netters, but 18 goals in 3 games. McDavid is, knocking on the door of history here. The entire world, Canada and everyone else, it's the Panthers versus the world. Everybody is looking for the historic choke tonight. How in the hell did the Panthers find a way to win this game tonight? I think it's going to be that's a tough ask. And Paul Maurice, their head coach, can say all the things he wants. It's, it's back. It's one game, 0-0. Nothing matters. It doesn't matter how we got here. It's game 7. It's on your home ice. Go out and win it. Blah, 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 blah. If you're Bobrovsky, I mean, you better be in the zone tonight, because these Oilers are going to come out flying. This is going to be one hell of a game. I give Florida their respect. They're a great defensive team, but they got to find it. They got to find it somehow, some way. And if the Oilers score first, ooh.
Well, it certainly helps that Florida's got this game at home.
Yeah.
So that's one thing going for them.
Does it though? You don't want to be on the road.
You don't want to be in Edmonton in that. Then again, there's a pressure cooker there from an Edmonton standpoint as well. Mm-hmm. But no, you'd rather have this game at home. But yeah, going back to the third period of game 3, it's just insane. Florida's been outscored 20-5. Like, it's not. It's not even close. Like, it's just been like the margins here have just been so crazy, especially for a Stanley Cup final where usually it's so tight and it's so hard to score. And Edmonton, they're not getting, contributions from like Leon Draisaitl, for example. Like, he's been, kind of absent in this series, but McDavid's doing McDavid. Like, they're getting scoring from Corey Perry of all people and Warren Fogle and Darnell Nurse. Like, everybody's chipping in. They're doing enough in front of Stuart Skinner to where he's not really being bombarded, because I think everybody looked at Edmonton. It was always the biggest question mark with Stuart Skinner. But, he's been solid here the last 3 games. He's bowed up when he needs to. But, yeah, the biggest thing for Florida is Bobrovsky. We know that his career MO has sort of been this. When he's when he's on, he's lights out.
Right.
But he has these moments, and the Lightning have been able to unlock that a few times. Yep. There's obviously been some times where he's stoned us, but you talk about the worst moment possible for him to just completely
brain fart,
just fizzle out right now.
Yeah.
And there's been interesting stuff going on if you've been following Florida. Like, I think yesterday there was a skate or something, like a practice, and usually Bobrovsky's like, the first one out there, and he wasn't out there at all. It was Stolarz and Spencer Knight. So there was a lot of speculation of what's Florida up to here. And I'm not saying you move away from Bobrovsky for this game. He got you there.
Oh my God.
He's probably going to win the Vezina. Like, you got to ride him. But like, what happens? Imagine? What happens if it's the first period, JP, and Edmonton goes up 2-0 quick? Stolarz was the best backup all year. I know that's a tough decision to make.
It's crazy.
But you got to have all hands on deck, don't you? Like,
just the fact that we're talking about it is a big deal. I mean, if you're not set with your guy in a game 7 and have utmost confidence in him, you're screwed. You're screwed. That's why the momentum of this, the pressure of this seems like a lot. It seems like a lot. And I just think the pressure's all on the Panthers, and they're feeling it. Like, they're really, really feeling it. And can we, just for a moment, just be cheesy fans I know we're supposed to be very objective and call them like we see them, but clearly I work for the Lightning. You're a lifelong Lightning fan. Just imagine tonight sitting back, third period, and the Oilers are just piling on. It's like
last year when Vegas closed it out with a 9-3 win.
Yeah. And you're just like, they're scanning the crowd of Panther fans. Wonder if that little smart ass little kid that's behind Paul Maurice every game, or actually behind Knobloch, with his chains on and everything, and his proud daddy sitting him right there. Like, I wonder what he's going to look like. Like, but if it's 9-3 in the third, I think it'll be past his bedtime at that point. Yeah, I can just revel in that and go, yeah, because like all Buck fans, you see a Falcon fan, the only thing you have to say is 28-3, 28-3. Right. I mean, we had no part in that. We had no part in that, but we reveled in it. You did, and the Falcons still sit there without a Lombardi trophy. The Saints still sit there without a Lombardi trophy. The Panthers still sit there without a Lombardi. You're the only one in the division, right? And you got two. You want to keep it that way.
This is what I'm saying. Like, I couldn't believe anyway that there were so many Lightning fans that were like open about, I'm rooting for the Florida Panthers to go all the way now because they're in the same state. Like, this doesn't happen in rivalries. You think that Toronto and Boston root for each other to win the cup or stuff? Absolutely not. No. Absolutely not. And especially the way that this series has sort of unfolded here. Like, the Florida Panthers are about to have, potentially the biggest LOL of all time in hockey history. Yes. And one of the biggest chokes in sports history. And the Lightning already had their LOL moment 5 years ago. And this would be even worse on this scale, clearly.
Yes.
Like, come on. Like, and the significance of this game, like, I seriously think, I think a lot of hockey fans and older hockey fans probably reminisce about the 94 Game 7 because of, the Rangers hadn't won one in like 40 years to that point. And I think Messier guaranteed it, all that stuff. But since then, this is probably the most significant Game 7 I can remember. I truly believe that.
Game 7 in Amalie Arena, that was pretty significant.
Yeah, obviously, but significant for us.
Yeah. But for hockey history?
But for hockey history, the greatest player going right now, one of the greatest players of all time, who's just been unreal, chance to go for a Stanley Cup, and you have the whole Canadian streak thing that's going on. The fact that they've come back from 3-0 down and they have a chance to do it on the road at that, like, there's a lot at play here.
Yes,
and then even from the Florida standpoint, what's interesting is Paul Maurice is probably the guy that's definitely like the most nervous right now because I think he's coached the most games in NHL history without winning a Stanley Cup.
Oh, I believe that's true. I
believe that's true. Yeah. So there's something there for him. So there's just so much at play. And even the Corey Perry curse, the Corey Perry thing where he's been in like 5 cup finals in the last 6 years or something, and he's lost all of them. Like, some curse is going to be broken here. I don't know, but there's a lot at play tonight.
We shall see. All right. I want to thank our good friends at Hydrate Heroes. Go to Try Hydrate Heroes. I'm doing the Berry Blast this morning, which is very, very good. It's got all the good stuff, none of the bad stuff. 5 calories per serving. You get the amla fruit. You get all the electrolytes, all kinds of essential vitamins and minerals in there. Only 5 calories, and it tastes fantastic. Go to tryhydrateheroes.com. Get your free 3-pack, or just go ahead and order at hydrateheroes.com. Get 30 packs for $29.99, less than $1 a serving. She had done that with the math there. Tryhydrateheroes.com and the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. They are local, they are trusted, and they get results. Call our good friend Scott Jeeves over there at the Jeeves Law Group. All right, let's bring in our good friend Eric Erlinson from lightninginsider.com. And Eric, I know you're listening to us revel in this possible choke of all chokes by the stinking Panthers. I've never been able to really buy into supporting them because they're in Florida. Actually, I don't even think that's Florida anymore down there, to be quite honest. Where are you at with this? I know you're a grizzled veteran objective reporter, but come on. Somewhere down deep in there tonight, you're like, come on, I want to see them choke this away.
No.
I can't get it. I can't get it out of him. He's too good.
I don't have any sort of that type of interest in this, right? I just want to watch the game and enjoy it. And
liar.
Well, I mean, if I'm going to lean one way, I'd love to see the media in Canada keep talking about how a Canadian team hasn't won a cup since '93, because that is totally media driven. Yeah. People in Toronto don't care if Edmonton wins the cup just because they're located in the same country as them, let alone the same state.
Are you sure?
Country. Come on, people in Vancouver are not. People in Calgary are not rooting for the Edmonton Oilers to break the curse. It's ridiculous if this keeps going on, but I'd love to keep hearing about it.
I thought all of Canada is rooting for Edmonton tonight. No. No,
this is not England. Let's bring the trophy home. No, this is not. This is not the same thing. No matter how much,
All right.
Again, do you ever hear Canada fans, any fan in the country of Canada talk about this? No, it's all media driven.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
and so I don't think there's anything to that, but I'd love to keep it going if it could.
I guess what makes it worse is we are on a 5-6 year run of the non-traditional hockey market, winning the Stanley Cup. When you look at Tampa Bay, Colorado, Vegas, and then now it'd be Florida. I feel like that feeds into that sort of conversation more, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think it does because we still hear it, even though the Lightning have been a franchise for 30 plus years and they've won as many cups as every team except for I think Detroit and Pittsburgh since they came into the league in '92. People in Florida don't know anything about hockey. It doesn't belong in the Sun Belt. How can you have hockey in a southern state? It's too hot there. You hear. I think that kind of plays into it a little bit for sure because there are quote unquote traditionalists that think that hockey doesn't belong in the South, and we're all just ignorant hicks down here in Florida who don't understand what icing is.
Yeah, that's not true. That's not true
at all.
Now, I was trying to think when's the last time an original 6 won the trophy. How is it? The Rangers?
It's gotta be Boston in 2011, right?
Boston, that's right. Boston. Yeah. It's been a while.
And Detroit won it in what, 08?
Yeah.
So it's somewhat recent.
Yeah.
But even that, I hate the novelty and the romantic of the original 6.
Yeah.
Move on. It's been 50 years. Move on.
It's been a long time. Yeah, the game has changed in a very real way. All right, so let's rooting interest aside, how do you break this down from an X's and O's standpoint? Because if you'd have told me at the beginning of the series at any point the Oilers were going to score 8-5-5, I'd be like, no, on what freaking planet are you? That's not happening. But and you can't ignore the fact that this breakdown defensively started when they were up 3-0. Is this a Bobrovsky choke? Is it more Florida's entire, or maybe just the Oilers just figuring them out a little bit more? What are your thoughts?
I think if Edmonton is able to pull this off and they win tonight, having won the last 4 games of the series, this might go down as one of the best coaching scenarios in the history of playoff hockey, because I think Edmonton has found cracks in Florida's armor. Florida's the best defensive team in the league all year. We saw that firsthand here in that series against the Lightning, where the Lightning had a hard time generating, and they still gave Florida a tough series, even though it was only 5 games. But you just watch the way Edmonton has attacked the Panthers. Their penalty kill has been terrific all playoffs long, and they're 95%, I think, which is a ridiculous number in a postseason. But I just think the way that they have limited Florida's forecheck, and it starts with that. We talked about this all the way back in April. How could the Lightning handle the Florida forecheck? The Rangers couldn't handle the Florida forecheck, right? Boston really couldn't handle the Florida forecheck. Edmonton's figured out a way to handle it and get out. And that's without defense, because it all starts with the defense. How are the defensemen handled? They don't have any stalwarts back there. Darnell Nurse has had his moments in this playoffs, but he's had a lot of bad moments.
Yeah.
This playoffs, and he's their top guy. Evan Bouchard is a point producer. He's not necessarily known as a tremendous two-way defenseman, but they found a way to get the puck out of the zone quickly. It helps when you have the best player on the planet on your team to transition the puck up the ice. But look, they've just figured out how to get up the ice and out of the zone quick, which is the key to beating the Florida Panthers.
That's
and they
right.
figured that out in the past 3 games.
And I'm not saying that every goal is his fault, obviously, because for the points you mentioned, but 20 goals in the since the third period of game 3 is what it is, right? And, I know you're not there without Bobrovsky, but you think there's a situation where tonight's all hands on deck, and I mentioned this in the first segment here. Like, let's just say it goes 2-0 in the first 10 minutes or something, and it goes sideways immediately. Like, all hands on deck. Would you potentially think about yanking Bobrovsky out of there if it starts getting rough early, or do you ride it out with him, you think?
He's your guy, right? Anthony Stolarz has played, a period and a half since April, right? Like, it's hard to think about going to that route. And look, I know that in the coach's handbook, it's if things get off to a rough start and pulling the goalie sometimes gets your team's attention, it's game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. I don't know if you go by that same philosophy here in that case. Bobrovsky has been great. Look, we all wondered, could he keep it up for an entire postseason? Could he be the Vezina caliber goaltender? Look, he was terrific against the Lightning. I still picture that save on Matt Dumba right down at the end of Amarin Arena that I was sitting at when that play happened and think, boy, he's just got it this year. And early on in the series, he did. And now he doesn't. I think you just have to have faith in your guy that he's going to do it. It's nerve-wracking. There's no doubt. That position in sports is probably the most important. We can debate quarterback and everything else and how important that position is in the NFL. But in hockey, if your goalie's shaky, there's nobody to help him. Right? Quarterback gets shaky, your offensive line can pick you up, or
can hand it off a few times.
Yeah. You can't do that. You can't do that in hockey. So I think if it gets a little shaky, if you go to Anthony Stolarz, to me, that's almost like waving the white flag.
Mm-hmm.
We're hoping now. Now we're just hoping that we can get something, but we might be done. So I think Bobrovsky is their guy, unless he lets in 3 goals on the first 3 shots in 5 minutes. Maybe that changes things. But I think that I think at the end of the day, you got to go with the guy who got you there. And if you're going to win the cup, it's going to be because of him.
Yeah, I'm watching a little bit of video on Twitter here. Bobrovsky's on the ice from 24 minutes ago, and he and the Scratches and Aaron Ekblad. That's about it for them this morning. He's got to get out there, get loose, get the cobwebs out a little bit, and it's going to be fun tonight. Somebody said this game goes to overtime. Overtime, game 7 for the cup. Sign me up for that.
Ooh, yeah, especially if you don't have a rooting interest. If you have a rooting interest, you want a nice, comfortable 5-0 win. But the rest of us want to see overtime and drama and everything else. So, look, if this goes to overtime tonight, it's going to go down as one of the most memorable, not necessarily greatest, but one of the most memorable Stanley Cup finals for sure, just in how everything is played out. And, maybe it deserves to go to an overtime. Well,
if the NFL was running this league, I think we could already go ahead and just pencil it in, because the script writers for the NFL, they seem to get everything right from that standpoint. So I hope it happens tonight. But I guess my question here too, if Florida wins this game, I think before this series and before game 3, if they won the cup, you would have been like, Bobrovsky's going to win the Conn Smythe. No doubt about it. But I think because of the way he's played, maybe more recently, maybe has changed that. And a lot of people think, well, McDavid's had this historic postseason that even if Edmonton loses, do we give McDavid that Conn Smythe trophy? What do you think about that one?
Knowing how the voting pool works for the Conn Smythe, I think that's probably the likely scenario, just because of where momentum is building and the numbers he's put up. I'm not necessarily in favor of that from a personal standpoint. If I had a vote, I wouldn't vote that way. I think it deserves to go to the team that wins. There are rare circumstances. The run that J.S. Giguère had for Anaheim back in 2003 was unbelievable, because it is a playoff MVP. It's not a Stanley Cup final MVP. So we have to have that perspective on it. But to me, I think it should go to the team that wins. And you look at Edmonton. Look, McDavid has had, obviously he's putting up ridiculous numbers that we haven't seen since the Edmonton dynasty days of Wayne Gretzky. So he's putting his name up once again in some of the greatest to ever play the game. But there's a lot of power play points in there, right? People want to criticize Nikita Kucherov for the year he had and call him a power play muncher. There's a lot of power play points that McDavid has put up in this postseason. Evan Bouchard, all the numbers that he's put out, a lot of power play points in there. And well, I'm not taking anything away from what McDavid has done. He's been great 5-on-5 at certain times, but guess what? He's disappeared 5-on-5 times. First 3 games of this series, what were we talking about? Connor McDavid has been corralled, right? Edmonton was shut out in the first game. McDavid and Draisaitl have done nothing in the early part of the series. In the early part of the series against the Dallas Stars, Connor McDavid was quiet, right? So he hasn't been a steady. He's had moments. He's had big games, back-to-back 4-point games in the Stanley Cup Final certainly raises that profile for sure. But for me, I think it should go to the winning team, and whether that's Bobrovsky, I would probably honestly lean towards Barkov. If you look at how Barkov plays the game and some of the players that he's helped shut down, including McDavid, and they have that matchup on home ice tonight for Game 7, and some of the big goals that he has scored, I would actually probably lean more towards Barkov if I had a vote and Florida wins. But I don't think that's how it's going to go.
I think tonight has a lot to say about who wins the Conn Smythe. I mean, just a series winning goal tonight. If you're in the mix, could be that. So that's just everything is magnified in a Game 7, obviously. So and the NHL has the stage to themselves tonight. I don't think College World Series got a championship game tonight as well, right? I think that's tonight. I'm not mistaken. So, but for the most part, the NHL, hell, even ESPN's leading their sports first take and get up this morning, leading with hockey. Can you believe that?
Well, that's what happens when they have the games on their network now.
Yeah, you say, well, I don't know. They still haven't given it much pub all year long, so we'll see. Is it fair to say that maybe the reason we haven't heard a lot of news on trades, I know there are a few trades that were executed just last few days, but in that the Stamkos signing and things may be in wait until a cup has been awarded, and maybe we'll hear something later on this week. What do you think?
Well, the last time we talked, obviously I had some optimism that it was going to get done, but we're less than a week away from the start of free agency.
Yeah.
It's been awful quiet. Quiet. It's do the Lightning have some things to potentially have to work on to clear out some cap space? Sure. And look, it was good news. I think since we talked the last time, the actual cap number has come out. It's about $300,000 more than projected, and every dollar matters to this team for sure and how things work out. But the fact that it has been so quiet, and look, Julian and the staff there, going back to the days of Yzerman, if things leak out of that organization, it's tough. It's tough to get information out of them, especially in situations like this. So quiet doesn't necessarily always mean bad situations, but the official start of the offseason doesn't begin until 40 hours after the conclusion of the Stanley Cup Final. So today is June 24th. Official business starts on June 26th. That's when buyout periods start.
Right.
With Connor Sheary, somebody that they could buy out and maybe open up a little bit of cap space. Because here's the other thing with the cap. It's going to take another big jump next year. Right. Yeah. The whole payback that the players had to do with the COVID business losses that was finished in October. So we knew the cap was going to make a jump this year. It did. It's going to take another probably $5+ million jump next year. So you're talking about a $10 million opening in cap space over a 2-year span, which will be the biggest I think that's happened in the cap era. So
that's a big deal.
That's a big deal. That's going to help. And does that happen? I know there's been some, rumors out there of potentially moving Tanner Jeannot that would open up some cap space. And, so there are a lot of things at play, but I don't know, man. I get a much different vibe on this situation than I had a couple of weeks ago. The last time we talked, it's my feeling has gone a little bit more in the other direction, which I hope is wrong. I hope I'm wrong in that, because we've talked about it a ton. There are certain players that need to finish their careers in the same franchise that drafted them. He's one. Victor Hedman is the other. We'll see what goes on. Victor Hedman is eligible to sign an extension next week. We'll see where things go with that. But yeah, I just I don't know. I'm a little more worried about the Stamkos situation today than I was even last week.
Wow, I did not expect to hear that from you. To be quite honest, I did not expect to hear that from you. I with the signing of Ryan McDonough, and obviously, that was eating up a lot of cap room that we thought was going to go to Stamkos, and Stamkos and McDonough being so close. I just, it's the same thing with the Mike Evans deal. I just couldn't see him leaving at this point of his career, even though there's more money on the table, and they've all made a lot of money, and their roots are here. It just doesn't make it just and knowing both of those guys as I do, it just didn't make any sense. I've never seen either one of those guys ever talk about money as being deciding factors. In fact, they go out of their way to talk about the other things, the quality of life things, the playing, all, with the same team, all that stuff. So it just would be such a shocking departure from everything they've said and everything they've done. So it didn't happen with Mike. I just don't see it happening with Steven, but.
And we'll see. Everybody remembers the last time we had Stammergeddon 1.0. It was up until, back then they had the legal tampering window a couple of days before the start of free agency. And it took up to that point. And, the negotiating tactic that Steve Yzerman had at that time was, hey, this is our best offer. We can't go. If you want to stay here, it's waiting for you. If you want to leave and do that, I don't know if I get that same vibe from the way these things are going, because obviously the franchise is in a much different place. The player is in a much different place. But he is coming off a 40-goal season. He is still a productive player. So it's one thing for a player, and Stammer basically indicated this at his end of the season press conference, that, taking less money to stay is the Lightning way. Players have done it. Heddy did it. Kucherov did it. Point did it. Take less than market value. But what is market value right now for a 40-goal scorer? And what do you consider under market? Because what you can't do if you're Julian Breezeball on the staff is you can't make Stamkos feel as if he's disrespected if you come in with what looks like a low ball offer.
Right.
If you come in with a $4 million a year deal, say for 3 years, that's a low ball to me. Right. So even though that is a lot of money, and it's a lot of money even for a player who has made the type of money. But if that's the offer, that's too far under market value.
No.
You have to have respect for the player on top of that. So it is a two-way street. He's already indicated he's willing to take less than market value, but I guess we have to put the number on what is market value,
right?
How far below that.
And the age does play it. It's 40-goal scorer, yes, but you're 30. Going to be 35 next year
in February. Yep, 35 in February. So
I was gonna point this out too in terms of, because you threw out a number there, like what if it was like 4 million, 4.5 million, and I think there's a lot of Lightning fans who are trying to say like, hey, that would be a good little number, right? I've seen that 5 million and stuff like that. But like you mentioned, what's the market for a 40-goal scorer? He's the same age now as Alex Killorn was last year during free agency. Alex Killorn has never scored 40 goals in his career. Never scored 30 in his career, and he was the same age as Stamkos, and he got 4 years, $25 million. Like, I think that kind of sums up when you're talking about what's the value there. Steven Stamkos can love to play here all he wants and everything, and it could be the best true fit, but 4 million, 4.5 million, I don't think he's taken that one bit. And to the point about feeling disrespected by the offer, he's already made it kind of known publicly before the season. He was pretty irked last year, right? The whole summer, we forget that. When he didn't even get talked to at all, it seemed like, about an extension.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of play here, just beyond the loyalty from the player to the franchise, and the franchise of the loyalty or to the player in this case. I just think that is he going to get a raise off of his last contract? Probably not. He might in the market. He might in the open market. Just because of the name recognition and the leadership skills and everything else, and how you have to always overpay on free agency day. It's just the way of life. You're going to overpay on market value. So, and here's the other thing from a Lightning standpoint: if you feel that Steven Stamkos is going to take up too much of your cap, and you don't want to indicate, all right, fine, if you've made that decision, you're still going to find a top 6 forward. Where are you going to find it? You just said you're going to have to overpay on free agency day.
Yeah.
So what are you going to pay a free agent to come in? You're not filling that void with a player who's going to come in on a 3-year, $9 million contract. It's not going to happen. So that's where you have to kind of internalize as a franchise, what is his value and his worth beyond the goal scoring, beyond the leadership, beyond the face of the franchise, everything that he has meant to this team for a decade and a half now. There is more value to me in that than, or at least equal value in that aspect to everything he does on the ice for this team, for this franchise.
And not that you want to say this, but you don't want to overpay either. For a 34-year-old, and let's not forget February. It's a bad month for Steven Stamkos. It was at what sometimes we become prisoner of the moment. We're like, wow, that was bad. Yeah. I would think it was his worst month he's had since going back to his rookie season.
Which makes you wonder, was the contract on his mind?
I believe it was.
I had to. It was. You're getting at that point. The team was kind of still meh.
Yeah.
Right. There were still some questions on whether or not they were going to make the playoffs, and they got on a run. He got on a run. He carried that into the playoffs.
Yeah,
I mean, look at the numbers he put up in 5 games against the Panthers. Right. And, McDavid has been quiet in that series until the last 2 games. Right. So, it's he's motivated to stay here. I know he wants to stay there. We all know how badly he wants to stay here, but it's a 2-way street. Right. You can't, if you place too much hope in that loyalty from the player, you're going to lose a player.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. You have to be fair to the player. That's why it has to be a deal that works for both sides. You can't disrespect the player for what he's meant. And at the same time, the player has already said to you, he's willing to take a little bit less. So, and the other point is, as David puts down here in the comments that, I misread that. Anyway, he has a family now, right? Like his reasoning is a little bit different. As he said, the next decision he makes is more than just about him.
Right.
So much of being a professional athlete is being selfish for a good chunk of your life.
Right.
And now with 2 young kids and, he's got, his kids are involved in hockey here now and getting older. Like there are different things at play in terms of how he makes his decisions. But the team has to be respectful of all of that and not come in. Like Nick, you made the comparison there to Killorn. So the Lightning actually made a similar monetary value deal, just spread out over double the amount of years.
Right.
So there are ways to make the cap work, but you're not an 8-year contract for a 34-year-old player. Probably not going to make it to the end of that deal, which means he's probably not going to get the money from that deal unless you have a Matthias Ohlund situation or, a Chris Pronger or players like that who just, are injured and can't play. They're probably not going to see the full 8 years. So it's great that you can say, hey, we just want to lower this cap hit a little bit. We're going to spread it out a couple of extra years to make it all work under the cap. The cap is going up. You're still going to get the same monetary deal.
Right.
But it's not
like deferred compensation.
In a way, yeah. It's just a question of whether they can get to the end of that contract and still earn that full money. All contracts in the NHL are guaranteed unless a player retires.
But if they're injured, wink, wink, they're given 6 years.
Hey, like I said, Matthias
6 years at 5.5, right? Yeah. You're getting, that's
probably a little bit higher on the money, but
yeah. Well, I'm saying those, but those last 2 years, maybe Stamkos.
Yeah, and look, you also can't backdive a deal.
Yeah.
Right. That's the Ilya Kovalchuk rule. You can't. It has to be a certain percentage amount from year to year, so you can't backdive the deal in terms of actual dollars. So the league has closed some of those loopholes for sure. But yeah, it's very interesting to kind of watch how this is all going to play out because we're crunch time.
Yeah.
It's
it's
June 24th.
And to your point, if you don't get Stammer, where are you going with that money? And what are you going to get for it? And it's just his value to another team is not going to be as good a value as it is for this team just because of his fit here. Cooper knows his strengths and weaknesses, how to play him. I don't see him going somewhere else and scoring 40 goals. I don't know. I don't see that happening. And, are there other teams that are willing to pay him that much money at his age? So it's a give and take. Like where would he go? What do you think would be the markets that would come after him? Utah? He ain't going to Utah.
Yeah, there's not many that have cap space, right?
Right,
like every team, even with the cap going up, doesn't have a ton of cap space. It's just the way of life in the NHL. And those that do have cap space have one of two things going on.
Yeah,
they're not a playoff team.
Right, they're awful.
Or they have so many of their own guys to sign right now. That's why they have cap space. Toronto has a ton of cap space. They got a lot of players to resign. Right. Florida's in the ultimate cap hell. They gotta look and see if they can re-sign Sam Reinhart coming off the full season.
Right.
They don't have a ton of cap space as it is, so they're in actual cap hell. So
and if you were going to go to Toronto, he has no idea who he'd be playing with. None.
Right. You don't even know Mitch Marner's going to be there.
Right. Exactly. So.
Right.
All right. Well, we will we'll hold our breath and see what happens this week. Hopefully, they're just holding off till the Panthers choke tonight. And we'll get some. It'll be a great week for Lightning.
Hey, Eric. By the way, before you go, I have to let you know this. I started playing at the Lightning Made Training Center in this 3-on-3 thing on last Tuesday. I played for the first time, and your son was the ref, I believe.
Yes.
And I kept trying to figure it out. I'm like, I know who this is. Yeah. But I can't put my finger on
ref,
it.
You suck.
Well, it's funny because there was at one moment in the game, there was this way bigger guy than me in the corner. And I went up over to him and I guess I leaned on him a little too much. And Kevin came over to me and was like, you got to cut that out, man. You can't get that physical. And I just kind of looked at him and I'm like, you're joking, right? Because this guy's way bigger than me. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And I just gave Kevin this death stare. And then later in the night, I was like, I think that's Eric's son, actually. Yeah. So now I got to let him know tomorrow because I think I need preferential treatment out there. I'm just saying because he was so close to calling penalties on me.
Oh my God.
Well, he won't be there tomorrow. He's actually we're actually leaving town tomorrow. He's going to help work a hockey camp up in Lake Placid.
Oh, nice.
So we're going to drive him up there rather than him driving himself all the way up. Me and my wife are going to drive him up there. We're going to drop him off. He's going to be there for the month. And, me and my wife are going to go around New England for
summer roadie
for a little bit. So yeah, he'll be absent from the league. It's too bad you didn't recognize him at first. I'll have to tell him that one.
That's funny.
But yeah, he's been reffing out there for a little bit, in the ball hockey and he helps with some of the camps out there and everything else. So he's still involved with the Lightning.
Any comments on Team USA yesterday? I know you've been reffing some soccer over the summer. Did you watch USA Bolivia?
I did.
It should have been about 5-0. They scored 2, but should have had a lot more.
It should have been, and that's a little concerning because you get into these tournaments, you get those chances that you got to bury them.
You got to bury them.
You have to. I mean, all we got to do is think back to Chris Wondolowski.
Yeah.
He was on that 2014 for one reason, and that was to score that late goal coming off the bench as a sub. He had that golden chance against Belgium and missed it. And instead of talking about a historic World Cup run, we're talking about, hey, Tim Howard was great, but they still lost the game. So, and Bolivia is an inferior opponent, and you only beat them 2-0. Hey, it's great. You controlled the game. There were too many lapses in that game for me from the U.S. side. And then I watched the Uruguay-Panama game, and Uruguay is the other team that's in their group along with Panama. And they've struggled against Panama. Panama has won 2 of the last 3 meetings against the U.S., including a penalty kick decision in the CONCACAF Nations League just a couple months ago.
We're not losing to Panama.
So Panama now, it's a must-win game.
Yeah.
Because I watched the way Uruguay attacks, and they got a lot of young talent. Like Luis Suarez didn't even get into the game last night.
Right.
And he can come off and make a difference off the bench for them. You know, Darwin Núñez got his goal. He's feeling good about his game. The way Uruguay attacks, I don't feel good about the U.S.'s back line. But I don't feel good about it.
Do you see Chris Richards yesterday? He was like the worst player on the entire field, for everybody. Like, that's my problem with the United States is like outside of like Pulisic, who had a great year with Milan, like everybody's like, oh, Weston McKennie played all these minutes for Juventus. Like, but it wasn't exactly like he was tearing it up though. And there's a reason why he's going elsewhere this summer. Like a lot of these players are not really in form based on the way they played. Yeah. And that was my concern when they faced teams like, I mean, you saw Colombia 5-1.
Yeah. Well, and I was at the game against Brazil over in Orlando. First of all, 60,000 fans, I swear 40,000 of them were wearing Brazilian yellow for a home game for the U.S., which is Brazil. I get it. But it was just weird to be surrounded by Brazilian fans at a U.S. home game.
I'm living over here in Winter Garden. The entire community here is Brazilian.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's
and that's probably why they had that game there.
Yeah. No, it's they have the humongous population here. Yeah.
But like I was watching that game. Look, it's great. You got a result against Brazil. That's not an easy thing to do. That was a great goal by Pulisic. But again, Matt Turner had a great game, the second most saves in an international game behind Tim Howard and his performance against Belgium. So, Joe Scally got picked apart in that game. Right. It's Vinny Jr. I get it. World-class player. But that's what you're going to come up against in 2 years. Right. Up against. So I have concerns. They could have had more goals against Brazil, but Brazil should have won that game. They were the better team. And I just, look, the only thing, like if they lose to Panama and you go in that game against Uruguay where you have to get a win, not just a result, you have to get a win. Does that end Greg Berhalter? Finally end Greg Berhalter?
It has to.
Like, if you can't get out of the group in this, and when you're hosting it
in Copa, no,
because isn't this the whole point? Like we're supposed to be past just beating Panama and all these teams in CONCACAF. Like we're supposed to start playing this more technical style football, and we're supposed to look like the other great teams around the league. And so if you lose to Panama, you're just taking more steps back. And with 2 years to go until the biggest tournament in the history of this country, I mean, how can you go into that with him? There's no way.
And with the greatest talent pool that the U.S. soccer has ever put together. I mean, you have some world-class players, not as deep as other countries for sure, but Pulisic obviously had a great year in Serie A, right? He was one of the top midfielders in the league this year, which is not easy to do, especially for an American-born player. Gio Reyna still has some maturing to do. His talent, he's not the U.S.'s best player. When he's on his game, he's their most talented player. Right, the things that he can do. You've added Balogun, who's had some goal scoring problems. Now there's a lot of hype when he
a hell of a shot yesterday.
And the second one that was taken off for the offside. But he's had a hard time finding minutes in club, and he's had a hard time scoring goals. That was his first goal for the U.S. since October, right? Ricardo Pepi. Great chances last night. You got to finish those if you want to be in the lineup.
They're sitters.
Right. The irony here, and look, the U.S. still produces goalkeepers. Matt Turner is right up there. They used to be able to produce some pretty good defenders, but you just mentioned Chris Richards, and Tim Ream's 39 years old.
Yeah.
He's 39 years old.
He fell out of favor at Fulham this year.
Yeah, like he still has his moments, but you're still relying, like you still haven't found somebody to play center back. And I'm not sure, Nick, maybe you know what Miles Robinson's situation is. I don't know if he's coming off of injury or whatnot, but I thought he was going to be one of the future center backs for this team. And I know he had the Achilles that kept him out of the World Cup a couple years ago. So I don't know what his injury situation is, but he was supposed to be the guy, and he hasn't been the guy. So a lot of concerns about this back line for the U.S., even going into Thursday's game against Panama.
Well, turns out to be a pretty big game and a pretty big tournament now, and we'll see what happens. All right, Derek, promote what you got going on besides your road trip this week.
Yeah, I'm going to try and keep tabs on things for sure as we're driving, especially as it comes to the Stamkos situation here once we get into that 48-hour window after the end of the finals. So lightninginsider.com is a website. There's monthly plans for $4.99. There's a yearly plan for $40 as well that has you covered. Obviously, if you sign up now, that has you covered all the way through this offseason, leading into next season as well. So that's where you find it. And, we'll find out if I'm back with Lightning Radio. I expect to be when we get to the fall, but we'll have that conversation when we get closer to training camp, but the website's always there.
Yeah, we never know until I'm on the same boat as you, my friend. We shall see. All right, partner. Appreciate it. Thanks, Eric.
All right. Be well, boys.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we got Jackson Suber, golfer extraordinaire from the U.S. Open, local kid, will be joining us here in a little bit. He's on the road, just had a tremendous Korn Ferry finish yesterday. Pat Burnham will join us at 11:30, so lots more coming your way with Florida State recruiting, and recruiting all over in football is red hot right now. So we'll get to all that in our second hour, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Back in 3. Stay with us. Summer is here, and it's the perfect time to shine with the exquisite June birthstones, pearl, alexandrite, and moonstone at the Golden Diamond Source. Each gemstone carries its own unique significance and style, making them perfect for any summer occasion. Did you know the 30th anniversary milestone is pearl, the traditional stone for this special occasion? And right now, you can enjoy 5 years of interest-free financing. That means you can own a stunning $5,000 ring and pay only $83 a month with 0 interest for 5 years. That's a great deal. And shop online and get 15% off the June birthstones. And we love our partners, local businesses that have been here for 40 years. That's right, the Golden Diamond Source has been here for 40 years. Julie and Steve Weintraub have done so much in our community. We thank them, and we shop there. It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. Happy summer. As we head into summer and hurricane season, you must make sure that your home is fully insured. Over 40% of people in Florida are not fully insured because property rates have gone up lately. Your home is worth more, so it needs to be insured. Call the great folks at Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799 to make sure you're fully insured. And also, you might just save some money. There are new companies coming into the state all the time. In fact, we just shopped our homeowners insurance, and I'm telling you, folks, we saved over $550 because Charity, the great customer service at Italiano Insurance, did all the work and found us a better company and a cheaper company. She'll do the same for you. 813-877-7799. Do something about these high rates. Shop them around. Could save you lots of money. It's Italiano Insurance. Been doing business here locally for over 60 years. 813-877-7799. Tell them JP sent you.
Hey, Tampa Bay sports fans. This is two-time LPGA major champion Jane Geddes here. After winning the U.S. Open and 10 other LPGA events, I wanted to try something completely different. So I came right off the top turnbuckle and landed in the crazy world of WWE. And yes, you heard that right. That's WWE. Working for the Vince McMahon as the VP of Talent Relations for the company. Now, though, I want to work for you. Everything I've done in my life, I've done with incredible passion. And now I've turned my focus to leading the best real estate team in Tampa Bay, the Geddes Gordon Group with Keller Williams in South Tampa. If you're looking for a new home, an investment property, or looking to sell your current home, we will give you major championship level service. When you choose Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of our inner circle, like family. So if you're looking for a few golf tips or golf course view, we're going to stripe it right down the fairway. Call me at 813-485-6808 or go to GettysGordonGroup.com, or again, give me a ring at 813-485-6808.
JP here for TryHydrateHeroes.com. That's our new website where you can get a free 3-pack of the great Hydrate Heroes Electrolyte Hydration Drink, all for free. Just go to TryHydrateHeroes.com. We'll send you a 3-pack. While you're there, go ahead and buy the 30-pack for just $29.99. Special going on, less than $1 a serving. For all the good stuff, none of the bad stuff. Folks, a lot of these hydration drinks have tons of sugar, tons of calories. Hydrate Heroes, just 5 calories, and they have all the electrolytes in there, plus other stuff that's going to benefit you. A mushroom blend that will help with inflammation. So much other good stuff in there. none of the bad stuff. It's Hydrate Heroes. Go to tryhydrateheroes.com and get your free 3-pack. The new tropical punch flavor is out, and it is fantastic. They'll send you some. Just go to tryhydrateheroes.com. Get all the information there. Pick up a 30-pack as well. Tryhydrateheroes.com. All the good stuff, none of the bad stuff.
Let's go. Right now. Back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. Jackson Suber will be joining us here in just a little bit, where he was at Oklahoma this weekend for the Corn Ferry Tour and closed with a 29. He birdied 7 out of 9 holes. Oh, that's just
in my dreams.
Ridiculous. That is 7 birdies in the year.
Hey, it's probably a good time then to lead in. We did have a golf tournament yesterday on the PGA Tour, obviously, a signature event, the Travelers. I don't know how much of that you got a chance to watch because there's so much.
I saw the finish. I saw the finish.
And that's all that matters. The protesters taking over the 18th green. I mean, what in the world, man?
Welcome to the Northeast. Yeah.
What in the world?
Shocking development. Yeah, they threw some smoke bombs on the green while Tom Kim's got an 8 to 10 footer up the hill to force a playoff, and he's got to wade through all these shenanigans before he hits his putt. And Scheffler had about a 25 footer that he damn near hold out.
He missed his last 2 putts there, like on 17 and 18 by combined inches. Like
crazy.
So close. But I was so conflicted watching that. Like we love Scotty Scheffler, and like his son is there, his wife is there, and like, you know, how can you ever root against Scotty Scheffler? And part of me is like, man, I want to see this historic run continue.
Right.
But the other part of me was like, damn, I want to see Tom Kim get a win.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I was so impressed by the way Tom Kim played, knowing that you're playing with the greatest player on earth right now. And the putt that he made, I was like, he showed some personality there when he sunk that putt.
I mean, he damn near jars it on 18 to win the tournament.
Right.
I mean, you talk about inches. Like
and the gallery went absolutely
crazy.
The
ball bounces. His second bounces literally an inch from the cup and then backs up like 8 feet. I mean, it could have backed into the hole. It could have you imagine a walk-off W, like holing one out, not since Robert Gomez at Bay Hill in like 87.
It would have been electric.
97, where it was. Yeah. Like a walk-off hole out from the fairway. Damn near did it. And then he loses in the playoff to Scotty Scheffler, who now has won 6 tournaments before
July
1st.
First player since 1962 to do that.
Yeah.
Not even Tiger at his height did that.
How about that? That's
crazy.
Yeah.
It's like we're trying not to get like overzealous with the narratives, but like, you know, he's just in a different stratosphere right now. He really is. Someone said was like his son has been alive for like 5 weeks and he's already been a part of, 2 championship celebrations. Like it's just nothing personal with this life. Nothing personal going on in this guy's life. Anything else just seems to bother him. It's crazy.
Yeah. And great performance by him. And what could have been at the PGA, right?
Yeah. And by the way, I hate to always bring this up but you know what? They were competing against each other yesterday. So I'm going to bring it up to make this point. Is that leaderboard, the Travelers, well, there were some good names on it. You had, obviously Scheffler's there and Tom Kim and the other kid. I can't think of his name off the top of my head right now.
Bhatia.
Bhatia. Like, and then you go to Live Golf, who had their event in Nashville yesterday. And I'm just bringing it up because Tyrrell Hatton won their event. And the leaderboard was rounded out by Joaquin Niemann and John Rahm, and of course Bryson DeChambeau. So you have 4 heavy hitters right there, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't have given one F about what was going on the CW channel or whatever yesterday.
I saw Bryson drive a par 416-yard par 4.
Yeah, that looked incredible and everything. And we were open about it literally last Monday, how we wish Bryson was still on our TV screens every single week. But even the atmosphere, the crowd, Jim Nantz, like. Just again, it doesn't matter who's on that leaderboard. Like the PGA Tour is always going to be the place for golf.
It's the standard, and the way they continue to run the carnival over at Live, that's just it's what it looks like. I turned it on. I just can't. It's not.
Did you see John Rahm? By the way, he got caught on the hot mic. Like he hit a drive into the water, and he was like, "These effing drones every effing week, man." Like. just going nuts because they were going off in his backswing, and he hit one into the water.
I did not see that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I guess Greg Norman came out on the green or something when DeChambeau was like, I saw, I didn't read the whole thing, but I'm like, it just seems like everything about live golf is just distraction.
I don't know. I just don't know, but.
All right. Well, we'll talk some other golf right now. We'll bring in our good friend of the show, who's had a hell of a couple of weeks out on the tour, and that's Jackson Suber, Plant High School, Palmacia Golf in Country Club, where I am a member, where he holds the course record at 59. What's up, Jackson? How are you?
Hey, how are y'all doing?
Not as good as you, my friend. Not as good as you. Dude, you are smoking hot. Congratulations on the U.S. Open, which we'll get to in a second. But you shot at 29 on the back yesterday?
Yes,
29?
sir.
7 under par, 7 birdies in 9 holes?
Yeah, that helped coming in for sure.
Yeah. What's that like? What I mean, just everything you look at, you're making?
Yeah, I didn't really know what I was at kind of the last, like after probably the 4th or 5th birdie on that back nine, kind of started to, I didn't really know exactly what I was at and just was playing golf.
You end up shooting 9 under, didn't win the tournament, but
yeah, not enough.
No.
Not enough.
Yeah, well, it was a nice. So what did you feel like this week coming off the U.S. Open? I'm sure you're getting a lot of attaboys. Everybody's congratulating you. And then you go out and I think the first round you shot 60. You had the lead, right? At this Korn Ferry.
I was 1 or 2 back, and then I shot 30 on my second 9. On my first 9 the second day, and I was leading by like 4 or 5 through 27 holes, and then kind of struggled, I guess, for the next 27, but I ended up putting a good back 9 together.
Yeah, well, when you get hot, you get hot. Ain't no doubt about that. So what was it like this week back out on the Korn Ferry Tour? A lot of congratulations from your fellow players, I imagine, for your U.S. Open.
Yeah, for sure. And so just trying to kind of, take that for what it is, and that it's, I made the cut, but didn't do anything, didn't secure a PGA Tour card, didn't do anything like that. So I need to, keep my head down and keep playing well, and a lot of work to do left still.
Well, let's talk about the U.S. Open. So you get in when Jon Rahm pulls out. So take me back to that moment. Take back to qualifying, first of all. So what was your qualifying like for the U.S. Open as far as the last few holes go? Did you know where you stood in terms of being an alternate, et cetera? Take me back to that moment.
Yeah, so I went to Maryland to qualify. It's known to be a pretty tough course. They don't have a lot of spots, but the field's not as deep as some of the other ones. And it's also, a lot of the courses is you got to go shoot, 15 under in 2 rounds to get through. And so went to Maryland, shot 1 under the first round, was pretty far back, and then kind of said, okay, I need to get going, and ended up hitting a driver, then a mini driver on the first hole. The par 5 10th hole was my first hole. Hit driver, mini driver to like 4 feet, made eagle there.
Nice.
And then,
nice.
Got another couple birdies, and then so I was like, all right, I have a chance, and ended up getting to 8 under on that 7 under on that round. And then I knew where I was at. My caddy at the time was telling me, if you birdie this one, you're in. If you got par, you're in a playoff. And ended up missing like a 6-footer for a par. It's a pretty tough hole, and hit drive in the rough and didn't have much, and just hit it short of the green, hit a good chip to 6 feet, and hit a good putt, just a little too hard. But then
you're in a playoff.
Now I'm in a playoff. 3 people for first and second alternate, and it's 2 live guys, Lucas Herbert and Kieran Vincent.
Oh, damn.
One's on Legion 13, Rahm's team, and then the other one is on the Rippers, I think.
Right.
Me and Kieran both missed like 25 footers on the first hole for birdie, and the other Lucas made a bogey, and so he was out. And then the next hole we both missed like 10 footers for par again on that 9th hole. And then the next hole, the last hole, I hit it to. We both hit good drives, and I hit to about and he stuffed it to like 4.5 feet, and I ended up making the putt, and he missed it, which was. I mean, it was. I thought it was toast for sure. I mean, he's a great player, and it just.
How long was your birdie putt?
50 feet.
50 feet.
Yeah.
So he's in at 4.5 feet. You're at 50.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even nervous at that point. I was just like,
and you drain it, and he misses his.
Yeah, I'm going home. Like, it was crazy, and then to actually get into the tournament, and I had a chance. The USGA saves like 5 or 6 spots in case people jump in the world rankings into the top 60 the prior week.
Okay.
And so normally like the first 3 to 5 alternates get in, and so I had a chance to get in based on what happened at Memorial. If Adam Scott was going to get in the field or not, it depended on how he got in the field. Because if he top 60, he was 60 going into the week. If he finished in the top 60, he was the second alternate from his site was also going to get in because they were like third on the list, and they would change to first alternate when he would become exempt. It's pretty confusing.
I'm following you here. All right, so
and then, but if he finished outside the top 60, then Adam was going to get that alternate spot, and then I was going to be the last man in the field. And so I was cheering for a couple guys like Billy Horschel. If he made like 2 or 3 more birdies coming in, he was going to jump into like 12th place and finish top 60. So I was watching the Memorial pretty hard. Actually at Pinehurst, I was playing on Sunday because I knew I was either going to be last man in the field or first alternate.
First alternate, right? Okay.
And then,
oh my God, you're like,
shook up where I ended up being first alternate, and he finished 60 in the rankings. Adam did, and stayed there until Tuesday, and had a flight to Wichita Wednesday morning. And I saw Rahm walking around with a flip flop on, and I was like, I don't know. Like,
so you went over and stepped on his foot with your cleats.
No.
Okay, right. Gotcha.
That would have been bad luck. But
only I think of things like that. I know you do.
Only have 1 or 2 holes left in my practice round on Tuesday, and I was about to have a conversation with my caddy and my agent and be like, all right, but it was probably a better chance I was going to end up going to Wichita, honestly. Just because, I mean, I needed a week to play. Like the worst thing I could have done was just not play that week. And to get in the grand scheme of things, I needed to play to get my PGA Tour card a week, and to do nothing, sit around, that doesn't help.
No,
to play at the U.S. Open's cool, but to sit there first alternate's not great.
Yeah.
So, but then I ended up.
When did you hear Rahm was out? And did you talk to his caddy or anybody from his team? Like what's going on?
Someone from that kind of has some connections to him texted me like 20 minutes before it went public and said he's pulling out. It's 100%. It's about to come out. And that was a long 20 minutes before the news and the press release and all that. And then another like 15 minutes before the USGA called me. But that was a very cool moment. And I was being there on site and having that many fans on a practice round day and just playing that course. I mean, I wanted to play the tournament so bad, and it was just like right there. And so to have that workout was really cool.
So you find out you get into, and you're replacing obviously one of the best players in the world. And then you look probably, I'm sure, like, okay, what's my times and this like that. And you realize you're playing with Hideki Matsuyama and Jordan Spieth, who are, 2 major winners. Like, is there like any added pressure?
Group, by the way.
Yeah, in a feature group. And you're like, is there any added pressure that comes with that? And then you're like, okay, now I got to turn it on. I'm playing in this, and I'm playing alongside 2 major champions.
Yeah, funny enough, Tuesday morning when the tee times came out, me and my caddy Ryan we looked at it immediately and we're like, all right, who's Rahm with? Because we knew that was, I mean, if we were playing, that was probably going to be it. And we're like, oh, that's so cool. Like, this is going to be crazy if it works out. And funny enough, it did. And I mean, yeah, that tee time was awesome. I mean, you don't really get that tee time unless you're a USAM champ, if you're not a popular name, you don't get paired with players like that in a feature group on a Thursday, Friday. You might be playing good and earn a pairing like that, but to just be thrown in it from alternate to featured group was pretty crazy. And I mean, I think Scotty, Rory, Xander were like a group or 2 ahead of us. And so, I mean, on that golf course, there were so many people around that corner, and Tiger played that morning. So, I mean, it was all the people on the course were pretty close to that group.
Holy moly. What did Jordan and Hideki what they say to you once you got in or anything? Did they try to make you feel at ease and everything? How does that work?
No, I mean, I just talked to them like it was a normal round.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
I mean,
right.
In the scheme of things, I mean, they're pretty much the same person I am. They're just 10 years older, hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't done the things they have, but at my point, they're at a similar point. So
all right. So you tee it up on Thursday, and this course, I mean, it's the U.S. Open, and this course is a bear. And I've played it a couple of times, but not even close to the way you guys play it. It's such a mind F, that you just, you hit so many greens and they just don't hold. How did you approach it, and how were you able to make the cut when so many great players couldn't sniff it, including Tiger and DJ and so many great players that couldn't make the cut?
Yeah, just played my normal game and just tried to, it's a weird course because you can't be too conservative. It's not like you can bail out to a side. It's, you aim at the center of the green, which is maybe 2 or 3 yards away from the pin, and you just try to hit it because every side it falls off the turtleback greens. And so just tried to play just good, precise golf and be patient. I knew that I was going to make bogeys, and I was going to hit shots that everyone hit the shot there that makes them look like a fool, like a putt that comes back to their feet, or putt it off the green, or hit it in a bush and have to chip out backwards. I mean, that's what that course does, and that's what a U.S. Open does to you. So just kind of accepting that. And I think maybe even on the weekend I might have lost perspective on that bogeys are okay, and so learning to play that with time, and hopefully I'll be better in the next one because of it.
Hey, coming down the stretch on Friday, things were getting a little hairy, and you had a great bogey. I think it was on 15, and then it came back with a birdie on 16, I believe it was. I may have those mixed up, but just standing over those putts, and you made 2 huge birdie putts on that back 9. What were you feeling nervous? Were you feeling nerves, or just what was going through your body?
I mean, the most nervous I was the first probably 2 or 3 holes, and before the round on Thursday. But after that, it felt like normal nerves for a golf tournament. I mean, I was definitely a little more worn out after it all, but it felt pretty normal to be inside the ropes, and all of the fans, it kind of just blurs out, and you really don't. I mean, it didn't really distract me as much as I was, more just trying not to let up my focus, because I knew how tough this course is, and that if you let your mind drift, you'll be making some big numbers.
So what was your favorite moment from a couple stories, moments talking to players, or just moments out there playing that you'll take with you forever?
I made birdie on. So I finished on the back 9 the second day, Friday, and I made a birdie on 2 back-to-back birdies, birdie on 3, birdie on 4, and 4 is really tough hole. 3 is one of the easier ones, but 4 was just hit driver 6 iron into the wind, perfect shot to 25 feet above the hole, and then had a super fast putt that went in, and that was a great feeling there, because I did have the round. I started off with a double and a bogey the Friday morning, and so that kind of got me back to a spot where I was in contention to make a run, and so that felt really good.
Well, it was an amazing run, Jackson. Obviously, it's given you some much needed confidence. Now you're back in. I think you were at 22 on Korn Ferry now. Top 30 get their card. So, what's your focus for the rest of the season now to get that card?
Yeah, just keep playing well. Job's not over. Got to keep playing well and keep making tons of birdies. Every week out here, I shot 20 under this week and didn't win. So.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Crazy. This tournament we're at this week in Springfield, Illinois, 26 under, won last year. So you can't really let up, and just got to keep playing well.
You got to keep making birdies. Well, Jackson, you provided a lot of entertainment and thrills for a lot of folks back home, where we got to see every shot, in that feature group. That was amazing performance. And you got an unbelievable future ahead of you. Thanks so much for jumping on the show today. Congratulations. And, hopefully we'll see you on the PGA Tour this coming season. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, JP. See y'all.
All right. Jackson Suber right there. What a story. What a story. Man, that is just insane. You got to play. You got to make a lot of birdies. You got to play great, but I don't know how you keep it all together with all that stuff going on around you, man. That is absolutely nutso. All right. Well, without further ado, let's jump right into some Florida State recruiting. We'll say a shout out to our friends at Hydrate Heroes, Extravaganza Productions, all our great sponsors as we bring in Pat Burnham from the Osceola, who's had a very, very busy weekend at Florida State with all the official visits. What's up, Pat? How are you?
Man, just trying to catch a breath. Still some follow-up work to do after 19 kids on an official visits this weekend to Florida State. I had 4 midweek visits, big visit from a 2026 quarterback that was unofficial. So you got, 25 visits, kids in town over 5 days, 6 days. And, of course, they had all kind of camps in June. But, yeah, listen, it's been the moving up the National Signing Day to the first week of December has really turned the summer into official visit season. You'll have some kids that will take some in-season visits, probably 5 or 6, but for the most part, the hay's in the barn as far as what you can do with these kids. Obviously, the calendar goes dead. Went dead last night. Will be dead through July 24th when you can bring on kids back on campus for about a 5-day window before the calendar goes dead again around August 1st. But, yeah, busy weekend. A lot of good news coming out of there here for Florida State.
All right, let's get right to the good news. What commitments were made? Who are these folks?
Well, listen, I think it was the reaffirmation of commitments that's the big news coming out of this weekend. Javion Hilson, one of the best defensive ends prospects in the country, said after his visit yesterday that he is done. There will be no more unofficial visits to Florida, no more official visits anywhere else once the season started. He is locked down. Javion Hilson will be a Seminole on December 4th. Another kid that was probably in that same boat, Solomon Thomas, took official visits to Florida and LSU in May and June. Finished up his official visit with Florida State yesterday and said twice, I'm a Nole, I'm a Nole. There was a lot of concern over the last 2 months about him being maybe flipped by Florida or LSU. For a couple of weeks, Florida was considered to be turning the tide on Solomon. Then it was LSU after his official visit there. But, I felt bad for the kid yesterday. It was clear that he was tired of the recruiting process. Probably didn't want to talk to us. Did, but he said all the right things if you're a Florida State fan. And listen, we're starting to hear more of these kids address NIL without being asked. He said that he could have gone to other places that offered him more money. And obviously in his situation, it was Florida and LSU, but this was more about development, and he felt like he could be developed for the NFL by Alex Atkins and Mike Norvell, and really feels like hinted that maybe some other commitments were coming, and that he was really looking forward to playing on building the offensive line with his class that could include Josh Petty and Ty Haywood and Peyton Joseph and Max Buchanan and so forth and so on. And then, of course, Tramel Jones, the quarterback commit from Jacksonville. Yep. He's another kid that has really, his recruiting profile has caught fire because of what he's done on 7-on-7. If there's a transitive property from 7-on-7 to real football, I don't know. But listen, he's certainly blown up. He's been to Florida a number of times. I've got a source in Gainesville, hits me up every time that Tramel's there. He said he's going to put all this to bed at some point this week. He will be in Jacksonville for the Rivals 5-star camp. I'm leaving there today, so we'll try to get up with Tramel Jones, but I think it's done. I think he's a Seminole. If you go back and read his interview or watch our YouTube video at the Osceola YouTube channel, you'll hear every word the kid said. It's certainly reading his words and what he said. It's merely a formality at this point. I would be totally shocked if Florida's in the picture after he once again reaffirms his commitment for the 3rd or 4th time. So you got that going on. Then, you got Peyton Joseph, a 4-star offensive guard from believe Houston County, Georgia. He's down to FSU and Memphis. I think that's more of a case of whether FSU decides they're going to take him, more so than Memphis. Now, Memphis has got the new FedEx money, so we'll see what happens there. They got a lump sum of money from FedEx, which is based out of Memphis, and they just signed. They just got a commitment from his high school teammate, quarterback. In golly, why is this Antoine Hill? Florida State is going to get a commitment today on the defensive line. I'm not going to tell you who it is because we promised the kid we would not break it for him.
Right.
But I think that Florida State fans are going to be happy if everything goes to true to form or through his timeline. There will be a commitment today from a defensive lineman, so there will be some good news coming out of that. Tavion Wallace, the 4-star linebacker, we anticipate that he will sign or commit to Florida State on July the 2nd. So you're going to have, I think, Greg Thomas, I believe he said June 30th, safety out of South Florida. I expect that he will be a Seminole commitment within the next 5 or 6 days. I believe he is committing on June 30th. So, yeah, listen, we just got through with official visit season. We're fixing to go through commitment season. So.
All right, yeah. Well, we all know with NIL, those things can change. Dion lurking in the wings.
Yeah, well, I think some of the bloom has come off that rose.
Yeah, I believe it. No, most definitely.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah. So it's been a very busy month for these guys. I do think that obviously they got their 2026 quarterback with Brady Schmeigel came in for his second multi-day unofficial visit to Florida State again with his entire family. The writing was on the wall. We started hearing last Sunday a week ago, that Florida State had found its 2026 quarterback. And as you started going back and looking to see who had been on campus and who had committed elsewhere, it certainly looked like it was going to be Brady. And I think if you want to watch some fun quarterback video, he's a pure pocket passer. But if you want to watch some good, nice throws and tight windows, go to Brady Schmeigel's huddle page and check him out. So yeah, a lot of good. Listen, they're in the final three for Ty Hayward with Alabama and Oklahoma, a 4-star offensive tackle out of Texas. So listen, there's all kind of news coming out.
A lot of good O-line. Something that has been a liability for years is becoming a strength at FSU, right?
Yeah, probably the only bad news coming out of this weekend is my understanding is that they really had their sights set on a defensive end out of Alabama named Zion Grady. Zion committed to Ohio State this morning. So you might see Nick Clayton come back in the picture for FSU. He took a midweek visit to FSU. I think he wanted to commit to FSU. Obviously, he committed to Wisconsin, I believe, on Friday or Saturday, excuse me. I think you could see with Zion coming off the board, I think you could see FSU circle back to Nick Clayton out of Gainesville, Florida. And, of course, they're still in it with Jalen Wiggins, who's committed to Florida, who's on an official visit this weekend, and a lesser chance with Jared Smith, the 4-star defensive end out of Alabama. So listen, there's still this thing is going to continue to roll on through December. We'll see some.
Feels a long way away to keep these kids committed, but you just never know. So just in general, Pat, there's a feeling that I know Norvell has become the king of the portal, but and we all knew it would take a little bit of work and time to get the high school recruiting where they wanted it to be. Is it your sense now that they've got pretty much both of those on lockdown, top 10 in each portal and high school recruiting?
Well, listen, this is the new calendar has kind of revamped this. Like a lot of people are concerned because they only have 4 commitments heading into this weekend. Well, what we saw last year was the current year's class is going to commit in July. That's what we saw last year. Florida State blew up its commitment list in July. I think we'll see most of these kids commit between now and the end of July. You'll have a couple of kids that will wait until, Ty Hayward said, I don't have a timeline. I'll commit when I commit. We had a couple of kids that said that. But, yes, listen, you got to find the balance, right? And I think each year's roster is going. I don't think you're ever really going to know what's going to happen until you get to December and you find out which of your kids are going to leave and which of your kids are going to stay, and that affects how many portal kids you got to go after. So it's a moving number. But yeah, listen, they've done a better job. listen, winning hides a lot of stumps. It's just like in business. Revenue hides all. You don't have to be the best salesman in the world as long as you're meeting revenue, right? You can do anything. You can be like Michael Scott. You can be as strange as you want to be, as long as your branch
numbers come in.
As long as your branch is successful. So listen. I think they're finding their balance each and every year. Listen. They got to close out with some of these guys. Listen, it's kind of funny. Everybody's always said, well, Florida State only brings in defensive ends through the portal. Well, now you got the number one defense in the nation, or Javion Hilson. But winning helps that, JP. They've won 23 games in 2 seasons. That helps overcome the lack of relationships. And listen, the one thing I'll give Mike credit for is they have relationships all over the country because of where his staff came in from, both on the field, off the field. And, they got the Schmeigel kid committed from California. So they have kind of most of their kids are coming from closer to Tallahassee than they were when they initially got here. But certainly they continue to cast a wide net, and it's worked for them. But, yeah, listen, Mike's they've proven they know what they're doing in the portal. The portal is a part of this business, and it's about finding a balance each and every year.
It certainly doesn't sound like it necessarily from everything you're saying, but have any of these sanctions recruiting-wise that were placed on them at the beginning of the year, has any of that played an impact at all during this recruiting cycle, like maybe the NCAA wanted it to or anything?
I don't know. I think the biggest thing was the number of days. They lost some days on the road, but not every school uses all their allotted days on the road. So I think it was more, and I know they've appealed some of the penalties. I don't know where they are on that, but no, I think at the end of the day, those were minor infractions with minor penalties. And listen, it's Florida State. They're winning. They've got to, by all battles in, seems to be doing good with the NIL. So I think that they can overcome whatever penalties they had, they'll overcome.
That they got penalized for doing
probably the biggest penalty, to be honest with you, is Alex Atkins not being able to coach on the field. I think for what is it, 1 game, 3 games? Anyway,
3 games.
Yeah, so I think that's the biggest penalty coming out of that. Now, if you want to get something overturned, you would certainly like to have your offensive line coach either in the press box or on the field with your offensive. Now, they got, obviously they got Gabe Farida, who's been here as a offensive analyst for now going on 4 years, an old high school football coach who's kind of an offensive line guru. So, Gabe's going to be there. He's been with Alex. He's been with Mike for the last 4 years. So, but I think that was the biggest penalty. The recruiting penalties, as far as that was concerned, outside of Alex being taken off the field, I think that is the other ones were minor in my estimation.
And I mean, the fact that everybody was doing the same thing FSU has been doing, those what they got penalized for was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, some of these are tic-tacky penalties.
Do you kind of feel like they were targeted a little bit? My God.
Well, listen, I'll say this: when you start winning, NCAA is going to come looking. You can go back and look at every program that's won in Ohio State.
Yeah.
How many times you can see they went in and got Tressel. We saw what was it? Sneakergate after Florida State won a national championship. We've seen stuff happen in Florida. We've seen, listen, LSU wins the national championship under Les Miles. Several years later, they're taking 37 wins away from him. Listen, the NCAA needs to be done away with.
Yes, please.
We need to get Peyton Manning to be the commissioner of college football, let's have everything. Let's have a independent governing body for college football, which is turned into really semi-pro. If you want to,
you're in the middle of all this NIL and recruiting stuff. Just give me a couple minutes on where we're at right now, and just the craziness that's happening and the money that's going back and forth. We hear big dollars, and maybe that's not really true. Like, from your perspective, what is this like right now?
Well, I think they've got to figure. All right, so I think there needs to be some kind of salary cap on this whole thing, because what you're seeing schools that are promising more money than they can produce. And I'm not going to get into I know that there's schools from coast to coast that are having problem fulfilling their what they promised kids. Like they're getting short paid, right? I know there was a kid from Florida that committed to a school out west and ended up back on this side of the coast. And the story was he was not getting what he was promised in the recruiting process. That's not only happening out west; it's happening on this side of the.
Are they signing contracts?
Are these
NIL deals? Are they contracts?
I don't know what an NIL contract looks like. They are signing contracts to some extent, yes. And listen, I think we got all right. So these NIL contracts, are you going to get paid if you make an appearance at this booster club function or this
autograph signing?
Yeah, whatever. I think let's just call it what it is. We are paying these guys to play football.
Right.
So let's pay for play. Let's call it what it is. Let's do they need to do these speaking engagements for the NIL? I guess. I guess it's kind of like I guess there's a standard pro contract where I guess, if Buffalo Bills ask Keon Coleman to do an interview, he's got to do it, right?
Right.
I'm sure there's some things like that. But, yeah, it's weird because you don't really know if, you got to trust. If a kid comes in and says, I'm getting $125,000 from University X, there's no way to know whether that's true or not. Right? I mean, you don't know. I mean, so
you're negotiating against yourself.
You got to trust the kid's not playing you. I mean, and we see that go on. And some of the numbers are
crazy.
I think most of the numbers are exaggerated.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think there are some kids that are going to make $4 or $5 million, and mostly quarterbacks, over the course of their career if they obviously turn into QB1. I mean, some of this has got to be performance-based, right? I mean,
I would hope.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
the kid doesn't make it. And can they? What happens if they transfer? If they, these deals. If Florida State offers a quarterback $1 million and he transfers the next year, does he get the money? Like, is it paid in installments?
I've heard a anecdotal story. I'm not going to tell you the.
That's fine.
Or the kid, because I don't know the kid. I just know the story. But apparently there was a kid at a major university that wanted to transfer. He wanted to enter the portal, and he was told that if you enter the portal, you're going to owe us. We fronted you this money. You've spent the money. If you transfer without giving it back to us, we're going to sue you. So I listen. Whether that's true, I trust my source on that.
Sounds right. It sounds fair. Sounds fair.
And I didn't dive into the details on this. I just was like, hey, and then of course now you've got NIL is allowable for high school athletes in Florida. So
yeah,
if your son is really good and you live in Tampa, Florida, which has got a lot of Florida boosters, a lot of Florida State boosters, a lot of Miami boosters, if I'm going to go work out some NIL, I'm going to go to the guy that's a Florida State booster, owns a car dealership, and the guy that owns Subway the Subway is in Tampa that was a Florida graduate. I'm gonna go get my son NIL deals from all of them because they're all recruiting him. So listen, I can't believe somebody sent me a message. There's a high school here that sent their kids a message. Hey, listen, don't sign any NIL deals yet because it's still got to be ratified by some board in July. The state of Florida,
July 24th.
And first of all, the whole thing was who on that team is good enough to get an NIL deal. so it's kind of
where we are.
But yeah, so I don't know, man. I think that now I think we're getting closer to revenue sharing and some kind of roster management,
some guardrails,
and some kind of threshold for pay, but you got to do something. It's wacky right now, and it will continue to be until we figure out where everybody's going to end up in conference expansion and
Big Ten.
I think
you headed to the Big Ten.
That's what I've said all along. But
right, me too.
Depending on who you talk to, I'm either right or wrong.
Right. I think it's a Big Ten. I think they'll probably announce here pretty soon too. Those losses in court by the ACC recently are going to force them to settle this at some point. So might as well be sooner than later. So let's hope so. Well, hey, before you go, maybe a little quick one on what we're going to see August 24th, which is rapidly approaching. This Florida State team this year with DJU and all the speed they've added. I have a hard time seeing them winning less than 9-10 games. Where are you at? this team?
I've been right around 9. I think if you ask me for a preseason prediction right now, I would say 9-3 with a plus minus of 1. Listen, this team lost a tremendous amount of talent. Did they bring something in? Yes, but listen, and maybe I'll be wrong, but I don't think some of the kids that they brought in are as good as some of the kids that they lost. Now, it's hard to find a Braden Fisk. It's hard to find a Jared Verse. And now Marvin Jones has got a better chance to be more like Jared Verse than Grady Kelly does Braden Fisk. But I don't think they replaced I think the players that left are better than the players they replaced them with.
Well, they all went to the NFL for God's sake.
Yeah. So, and then of course, you lost one of the most dynamic playmakers in all of college football for the last 3 years in Jordan Travis. Now, DJ brings new things for defenses to defend, but you've lost a unbelievable weapon that could make plays out of nothing in Jordan Travis. So do I think it's a 13-0 team? No, but I didn't think last year's team was a 13-0.
Yeah, true.
I had them at 10-2 or 11-1. Listen, I think it's going to be a very good football team. I don't think it's going to be last year's football team. And listen, I think the schedule as it sets up right now might be a little bit more difficult than last year's. I don't think that, you ask about August 24th. I think that this Georgia Tech team is going to be a tough mental football team. They brought in about 18 transfers. I really like the job that guy has done there. And then
no pushover. No.
Yeah, so then you're bringing in a Memphis team that's not going to be Duquesne. I mean,
right.
I think you got one FCS team on the schedule. You got to go to Notre Dame. I think North Carolina comes here. You go there. They're supposed to be pretty good. I haven't whipped out the schedule in a while. But listen, we're exactly a month from the team reporting, which is hard to believe. They report on, I believe, the 23rd or 24th and start practice on either the 24th or 25th. It's one of those 2 dates. So we're and then we're 60 days from the first game, 61 days from the first game.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
It's gonna get here quick. I mean, I know a lot of this offseason seems like it's gone quicker than most that I can remember. Of course, there is no offseason in football anymore because you go from bowl season to portal season to junior days to spring practice to official visits and summer camp. So
no days off.
Yeah. So listen, I'm going to try to disappear for about the next 30. I'll be happy to come join you guys, but I'm going to the lake in North Georgia after I leave this 5-star Rivals camp in Jacksonville. Listen, there's going to be a lot of big names for not only the 2025 class, but 26 and 27s at this camp. So if you're not a Rivals subscriber or Osceola subscriber, I would ask you to go check out rivals.com or theosceola.com because we will have 104 of the best players in the country in Jacksonville for 3 days starting tomorrow. I'm getting ready to head over there tomorrow or tonight, and we'll have a media.
Good time to sign up. Yes.
Yeah. So, really and by the way, there is, if you sign up for the Osceola, and I don't have the information in front of me, but if you go to the Osceola, theosceola.com or floridastate.rivals.com, you get free membership until I believe the start of practice or the first game. Anyway,
there you go.
There's a special at the Osceola. Go check it out. Now we are doing a rebrand, a rebuild today, so there's some technical issues going on, but certainly check us out. Hopefully we'll have all that remedied as they've just come out with new logos and new fonts on the site. We're going through some.
Well, that's important.
Absolutely. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, listen.
You'll get the information.
I'm glad it's football season because that means I get to hang out with you guys a little bit.
All right, me too. We're getting there. All right, Pat. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Have a great trip.
JP. Y'all have a great one.
Off. All right, hey, Pat Burnham right there. All right, we got to hit a break. Damn, we haven't got all our breaks in. Thanks so much to all of our great sponsors, to Geddes Gordon Group, Extravaganza Productions. Go see them. Go to their website, and if you got a big meeting coming up or anything in terms of a charity event, or you got a big birthday, you want to do something creative, let the pros do it. Very, very reasonable rates, and you don't have to do all the work, and they will absolutely knock it out of the park. Extravaganzaproductions.com. Go to their website. All right, quick break. Back to wrap everything up right after this. Stay with us. All right, welcome back on this busy Monday. Had some great guests today, and our thanks to the great folks at HydrateHeroes.com. Go to tryHydrateHeroes.com. Get your free 3-pack. And just go ahead and order the 30-pack. $29.99 gets you all the good stuff, none of the bad stuff. 8 essential minerals and vitamins, plus the amla fruit, a mushroom blend for inflammation. It is so hot out there, folks. You have to stay hydrated, not just with waters. Mix in a couple of these Hydrate Heroes for less than $1 a serving. It is well worth it. Tastes great. Only 5 calories per serving. Great for kids. Kids will like it as well, and you don't want to give them all that sugar. So thanks to the good folks at Hydrate Heroes and DigiUse Law Group. All right, some other things I wanted to get to at the Olympics last night. I was watching the Olympic trials. The track and the swimming has just been absolutely fantastic. Clearwater's Billy Fink is headed back to Paris. We got a lot of local folks heading over to Paris, so we'll have to get Dan Lucas on and get an update on all our local Olympians. The tennis player Danielle, missing her last name, she's headed to the Olympics as well from Clearwater. And did you watch the 100 meters men's last night? Noah Lyles absolutely turned on the Jets at the end, finished in 9.83. So he will be one of the favorites for the 100 meters. It's still one of the great things to watch, the 100 meters. And then the women, Sha'Carri Richardson, 10.71. Holy hell.
Yeah, she's like a superstar.
She is superstar.
I mean, they were doing pieces on ESPN of her, and I've had First Take on this entire morning, and they were talking about her. She's sort of like becoming the face maybe of the United States for the Olympics.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say.
Yeah. Yeah. There are some really big time personalities, and with the explosion of social media now, it feels like track and field athletes now are becoming huge megastars again. So Sha'Carri Richardson, remember, she won last year the trials in 2021.
Yeah.
And was headed to Tokyo in a marijuana test.
Right.
I mean, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, it was just
in this day and age.
Ridiculous.
So she gets robbed of that. She probably would have medaled there. Now she has a chance to win the gold. And did I hear right? An American woman hasn't won the 100 in like 30 years.
I think so. Yeah. So she has a chance to make history. So, and even you mentioned the swimming too. Let's not forget, because Katie Ledecky is going to be back at it. And I know we all sort of know that name, but I don't think we understand her greatness sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I think she just did her 1,500 meter trials earlier this week or this weekend, maybe. She won by 20 seconds.
Yeah, she's insane.
And there's a clip of her finishing, and then it feels like it's literally like an eternity that goes by before somebody comes back into the picture.
Yeah.
Like, she
that
is
whole
like
scene in Indianapolis where they built the freaking pool at Lucas Oil Stadium was just insane. It was really, really good. Really fun.
Yeah, and I think it is also too is Simone Biles, isn't she performing is she doing the Olympics this year too?
Yeah. Yep.
She's obviously one of our biggest stars. So yeah, a lot of big American presence at the Olympics.
Yeah, obviously Caitlin Clark won't be there. Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky. That was another huge sellout crowd as they came from 15 back to beat Caitlin Clark and the Fever. Nobody got injured in this game. Nobody was hit in the head. Nobody was cheap shotted, and that was
I love
nice.
it. We had no incidents, so nobody can overreact, and we could just talk about the game because the game was incredible. And Angel Reese played amazing.
She really did.
She has 8 double doubles in a row.
Yeah,
which is like a WNBA rookie record. So, it's not. Caitlin Clark is definitely the most popular player, but she ain't the only rookie that is lighting up the score box every single game.
No. All right, that was fun day. So, a little programming note. We will have a repeat of the show tomorrow as I'm off for a little mini vacation. Peter Blake will have the show on Wednesday. I'll be popping in. Nick, I'll be with you on Thursday for a little bit from New Orleans. So if we don't get killed, we'll be joining you from there, keeping you posted on all.
Jeez,
it's not a very safe place, but we're gonna do our best. So we'll be popping in and out, and we'll have a lot of good stuff. And I'm expecting some Stamkos news this week, and we'll do some more on football recruiting for the Gators and USF. You said USF had a little incident for their recruiting.
All the Lambos on the field, the ripped up field of Raymond James. It did
not go over well.
I don't think it looked as cool as they thought it might have. But
okay,
I don't know.
Right. Well, we'll dive into that a little bit more later on in the week. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you at some point this week from New Orleans.